Good morning. Welcome to our session entitled Making Asia Pacific Resilient to Climate Change, the effort and perspective of the Asia Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Information Platform, or AP-PLAT, which is organized by the Institute for Global Environment Strategies, or IGES, in collaboration with the Ministry of the Environment Japan and Center for Climate Change Adaptation, or CCCA, at National Institute for Environmental Studies. My name is Osamu Mizuno, and I'm a program director of the Adaptation and Water area at IGES. And I'm very delighted to chair today's session. Last year, IGES became PEMSEA's Regional Center of Excellence in Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Reduction. We are very glad to organize today's session as part of our collaborative activities as PEMSEA's Regional Center of Excellence, especially at this very good timing right after the COP26. As you know, the risk of extreme climate-related disasters is expected to increase further due to climate change. Severe impacts of climate change have already been observed globally and locally. Thus, taking steps further toward adaptation is crucial. The Asia-Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Information Platform, or AP-PLAT, was established at the G20 Summit in 2018 in Japan with a vision of nurturing countries in the Asia-Pacific region to build climate resilient and sustainable society through science-based climate adaptation strategies, risk-informed decision-making, and pragmatic capacity building. Today's session firstly present the latest scientific findings and capacity building contents provided by AP-PLAT, followed by the discussion with the representatives from C2, PEMSEA, and PNLC. We also would like to answer questions and comments from the participants at the end of the panel discussion. So please feel free to type your questions or comments in the Q&A chat box. We highly appreciate your active participation. So let us first invite Mr. Genichiro Tsukada, Director of Climate Change Adaptation Office, Ministry of the Environment Japan, for delivering the opening remarks.
Good morning. I am Genichiro Tsukada from Ministry of the Environment Japan. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers and partners for their efforts in arranging this event. I would also like to welcome all participants to this event. We are delighted to be co-hosting this side event with the Institute for Global Environmental Studies, IGES, the Center for Climate Change Adaptation of the National Institute for Environmental Studies, NIES, and the Partnerships in Environmental Management for the Seas of East Asia, PEMSEA. It is also our honor to collaborate with the PEMSEA network of local governments and network of learning centers and at C2 project. The impacts of climate change are an evident threat to coastal areas and islands, and the Asia-Pacific region is at the forefront of tackling the climate crisis. Building resilience to climate change impacts such as sea level rise and coastal disasters is imperative for sustainable development in the region. In this context, I would like to express my respect to PEMSEA for addressing various environmental issues, including climate change, from the perspective of integrated coastal zone management. Let me also stress the importance of these partnerships as we continue to promote climate change adaptation in the ocean and coastal areas. Last weekend, COP26 in Glasgow, UK, came to a close. Adaptation and resilience were some of the key themes put forward by the COP26 presidency. COP26 reaffirmed how important it is for countries not only to reduce GHG emissions, but also adapt appropriately to climate change, thereby achieving a common global vision to reduce vulnerability and strengthen resilience, as set forth in the Paris Agreement. It is expected that countries will submit their adaptation communications very soon. In fact, Japan has just submitted its adaptation communication to the UNFCCC at the end of October, based on the latest National Adaptation Plan, which was approved by the Cabinet on 22nd October. In addition, Japan continues to actively engage in international cooperation in the field of adaptation. In 2019, Ministry of the Environment Japan, together with IGES, NIS, and relevant organizations in the Asia Pacific, launched the Asia Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Information Platform, or AP-PLAT. This is an initiative based on 3 pillars. First, enhancing scientific knowledge. Second, providing support tools. And third, capacity building. In this session, experts will introduce some new content related to capacity building in relation to one of the 3 pillars of AP-PLAT. We have invited panelists who are actually working on climate change adaptation programs to discuss the use of capacity building tools, including AP-PLAT. In addition, AP-PLAT, PEMSEA, and other regional networks will collaborate to discuss concrete measures to address capacity building in the Asia Pacific. I am pleased to say that IGES, the promoter of capacity building activities in AP-PLAT, was recently designated as the PEMSEA Regional Center of Excellence in Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Reduction. I hope that this will promote further collaboration between Japan and PEMSEA in this field, and that today's session will serve as a first step to do this end. I very much hope that this event will serve as a great opportunity to encourage more interest in the AP-PLAT capacity building programs and boost involvement in the platform. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tsukada, for delivering the opening remarks. Now, I would like to invite 2 speakers to introduce the newly launched tools and training programs in AP-PLAT. The first speaker is Dr. Yuji Matsutomi, Head, Asia Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Research Section, Center for Climate Change Adaptation, or CCCA. Prior to joining CCCA, Dr. Matsutomi had been an associate professor at Ibaraki University. He obtained PhD in Global Environmental Studies from Kyoto University in 2007. His current research interest is on climate change impacts and adaptation assessment on agriculture sector from local to global scales. He is also highly engaged in the development of AP-PLAT. So, Dr. Matsutomi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mizo-san, for my introduction. And today I would like to briefly explain about AP-PLAT. Okay, again, my name is Yuji Matsutomi from Center for Climate Change Adaptation at National Institute for Environmental Study, NIES. And I'm a developer of AP-PLAT, it's a Pacific Climate Change Adaptation Information Platform. And also I'm a manager of AP-PLAT. And before going to my presentation, I would like to express really my appreciation for organizing this meeting. I'm very pleased that this kind of meeting on AP-PLAT is held. And also it's a great honor to give you some introduction about AP-PLAT here. Thank you so much. And first of all, I would like to briefly explain what is AP-PLAT. And the AP-PLAT is a web-based information platform on climate change adaptation, focusing on Asia-Pacific region. And it was established in June 2019. Mr. said 2018, but I think the correct one is 2019, 2 years ago. And also, it is providing scientific information on climate change, including future climate projection and future climate impact and future climate change adaptation. And AP-PLAT website is already open, but I'm happy to announce that the renewal of AP-PLAT, it was the 2 weeks ago, AP-PLAT is renewed. And then you can see that left-hand picture is showing that the old version of AP-PLAT. And also you can see that the right-hand picture is showing the renewal AP-PLAT website. So you can see that the design was really improved, and also we added some new tool and new database into renewal AP-PLAT. And today I would like to introduce some of the main tools of AP-PLAT. And the first one is CMIP6 Climate Bureau, called Climcast. And as you know well, the CMIP6 is the latest future climate projection data set. For example, IPCC-L6 report, the latest report is based on the CMIP6 future climate projection data set. And the main concept of Climcast is to deliver the latest future climate projection to all. So by using this tool, this Climcast, everybody can easily access to the latest future climate projection. And Climcast has 2 modes. One of the 2 modes is map mode, and the other one is time series mode. And in map mode, you can geographically compare future climate among climate scenarios, including 10 global climate model and 4 emission scenarios. And in time series mode, you can compare future climate change over time across future climate scenario, including 10 GCM and also 4 emission scenarios. And the most important function of Climcast is that you can easily download data in CSV format by 1 click. The CSV format can be read by Excel software. So everybody can use, everybody can download, everybody can easily access to the latest future climate projection. And if I have time, so I will show you the exact the actual web page of Climcast later. And another most important tool of AP-PLAT is Climate Impact Bureau. And Climate Impact Bureau is a map database on climate change impact based on scientific result. And now you can see that 2 figures, and this figure is showing that future change in inundation area. And left-hand figure shows the inundation area in 2010s. And the right-hand figure is showing that the inundation area at the end of this century. And the color indicates the area, inundation area. And red color indicates the higher inundation area, and yellow and blue is showing the lower, small inundation area. So, for example, if you look at the Vietnam in the 2010s, you can see the orange color, but at the end of this century, at the end of this century, you can see that the red curve. So by comparing these two figures, you can understand the future change in inundation area. In the inundation area in Vietnam will increase. And the climate impact view is providing not only coastal area impact, but also a wide range of sectors, including extreme weather, sea level rise, health, agriculture, water resources, and ecosystem. And another important tool of AP-PLAT is ClimeKit. And the ClimeKit is a global database on scientific data and tools for adaptation planning and action. And ClimeKit has a large number of scientific data and tools, and ClimeKit has also search function. So by using search function in ClimeKit, you can easily find scientific data and tools which you need for adaptation planning and action. And also, I will show the actual website if I have time later. And also, we are providing global news on adaptation. And in this page, you can find the latest news, event, seminar, and publication on adaptation. And this page also has a search function. So by using search function, you can find the past news, past event, and past seminar, and past publication adaptation. And also, we are providing e-learning content now, but just we are preparing e-learning contents in AP-PLAT. But some of the e-learning contents have been already published in YouTube. And the next speaker will explain more about these contents. And before concluding my presentation, I would like to show you actual web page, actual tool. So just a moment. How minutes left?
1 more minute you have.
1 minute, okay.
But you can do it a little bit longer. It's okay.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. I will show you the actual tool. Okay, now I think you can see that the web page of Climecast. This is the front page of Climecast. And then this tool includes 4 emission scenario you can select, and you can select climate model, and you can select variable from temperature, maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and precipitation, and you can select the period. Okay, and if you can select, you can select the country. So, for example, Vietnam, and the forecast, and then we can divide the map, and also like this. You can select the left-hand figure is showing the SSP 126. It is a low emission scenario, and now these 2 figures is showing that the temperature increase, temperature change in the future, and at the end of this century, right? So, and dense color indicate the higher temperature increase, and the light color indicate lower temperature increase. So by comparing these 2 figures, so you can see that the difference in temperature increase between low emission scenario and the high emission scenario. And also, as I said, this tool has time series mode. And you can see that this figure is showing that temperature change from 1980s to at the end of this century. And also you can select which climate model is shown like this. And also, as I said, by one click, you can get the latest future climate change data like this. Right. Ah, okay. I cannot show the Excel data, but I have already downloaded the future climate change in Excel format. Okay. Okay. So this is a Climecast. So everybody can easily access the latest future climate change data, and also you can easily download by one click the data. So that is a very big important function of Climecast. And AP-PLAT is providing this kind of useful tool for everybody. Okay, so I go back to my presentation. Okay, anyway, and this figure is showing that the main concept of AP-PLAT, and you can see that this is a bridge, okay? This is a bridge. And then we have main three activities. That is tool, providing tool and providing scientific information and capacity development. And then this bridge is linking science and stakeholder. That is the main concept of AP-PLAT. Okay, so we keep improving AP-PLAT function in the future. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Masatomi, for a very nice introduction of AP-PLAT and scientific tools in it. The next presenter is Dr. Vinaya Raj Shivakoti, Senior Policy Researcher, Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. Dr. Shivakoti has over 12 years of experience dealing with water resources management and climate change adaptation. He is currently engaged in action research and capacity building to promote the integration of climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction. And Dr. Shivakoti, please take the floor.
Thank you, Mizuno-san, for your nice introduction. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Let me start my presentation, and I'm very happy to share introduce to you this e-learning materials on AP-PLAT. I hope you can see my slide, right? So as you know, like a previous presenter mentioned, that AP-PLAT aims to promote adaptation literacy. And for that, we are in the process to release several of the e-learning courses. So with regard to that, today I'm going to share with you two e-learning courses. One on building resilience to compound and cascading disaster risk. This e-learning course is still under development, and we are planning to launch it at the upcoming international workshop on building resilience to compound and cascading disaster risk in the context of climate. Yes?
Vinaya-san, sorry to interrupt, but please change the presentation mode rather than the screen is showing that you are reading text as well.
Sorry. What about now? Let me share again. Is it okay now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mizuno-san. So today I will be presenting about the two e-learning courses, one on compound and cascading disaster risk. And we are going to launch it at international workshop that is scheduled in January 2022. And second is nature-based solution. It was launched at COP26 Japan Pavilion on the 3rd November. And I would like to acknowledge all the contributors. So of this e-learning material. Let me first introduce about this building resilience to compound and cascading disaster risk. So compound and cascading disaster are now becoming a very hot topic, especially after this COVID-19 pandemic, which created a complex scenario for disaster risk management. And another factor is also the climate change, which is responsible from extreme hydrometeorological disaster, and most of these disaster involves compound and cascading effects. So we are now in transitioning to the new normal. So we can see compound and cascading disaster as a new normal, which is expected to intensify in future. So I think the basic question we need to now understand is whether government sectors, communities, and individuals are fully aware of these complexities, and do they have access to necessary knowledge and tools. So that's the point we would like to address through this e-learning material. And the basic point we wanted to address through this e-learning is like how we can enhance understanding about this compound and cascading disaster risk, and how these disasters differ from the normal disasters that occurred in the past that we already know, and what additional steps government sectors, communities, and individuals need to take, and how can communities build resilience against future risks. So we try to answer this kind of questions through this e-learning material. So for developing this e-learning material, we used recent scientific literature and assessment report. We also investigated and provide some real cases that involve compound and cascading disaster from Japan, Asia, and Europe. And we also had an interaction and interview with leading experts in the field. So let me share with you the course structure, how we structure this course. This course has 4 lessons, and also at the end we have a summary of the course. So first, lesson 1 is about introducing. We want to, because there has been a lot of interest to know about what is this compound and cascading disaster are itself. And next, we will also show you how we can do assessment of compound and cascading disaster risk, and how to design resilience enhancement measure, and then how we put everything into planning and implementation framework. So this is the overall structure of this course. And so let me briefly touch on this lesson 1. So this lesson 1, we explain about the basic concept. We define what are compound and cascading hazard, what are the characteristics of this hazard, compound and cascading hazard disaster, and what are the impacts. So we hope that through this, we want to build a fundamental concept so that the targeted participant can grasp complexity involved, especially communities. And then we hope that it will be useful to build some kind of foundation to conduct risk assessment, planning, and implementation step. So, and then the next lesson, we will do this assessment of compound and cascading disaster risk. So we rely on the existing process and practices of disaster risk management assessment and mapping, so that it don't look like a new thing. But here we try to clarify like how hazard analysis or vulnerability assessment or exposure assessment are different from normal disaster risk assessment. And through that, we show how they can develop a risk assessment and mapping, and then how different scenarios could be developed about future risk, and how they can prioritize such risk, and then how they can link that the understanding with the resource and capacity. So these are all included in the lesson 2. And in lesson 3, we explain about what are the resilient enhancement measure. So considering pre-disaster preparedness, response, and post-disaster recovery. So it basically covers extended impacts, so in space and time, as well as systemic impacts in all elements of disaster cycle. And we consider all combination of hard and soft measure to minimize loss and damage, and most importantly, break the chain of impacts. And then build back better or adaptive recovery by considering systemic impact. That's a key aspect. And in the lesson 4, we explain about adaptive implementation framework based on 3 mutually reinforcing pillars, based on policy, legal and institutional setup, action plan, and monitoring and evaluation. And here we want to think about more as a systemic and we need to have a systemic and transformative thinking with by using the concept of adaptive governance, then which requires multi-level coordination, meaningful participation, and effective decision making. And so we want to work, and this kind of implementation should be stepwise approach backed by robust monitoring and evaluation, because there will be a lot of surprises and uncertainties. So we have to work by learning by doing kind of approach. And towards the end, we provide a summary of the course, and which the intended audience can use to review gaps and identify necessary measures to incorporate compound and cascading disaster risk into their local disaster planning. And there are useful links, examples, and also we provide like a template for conducting exercises while organizing training sessions utilizing this e-learning. So this is the introduction of e-learning on the compound and cascading disaster. So next, I would like to explain about this nature-based solution, which is another important topic that has received a significant attention at different level, including like this recently concluded COP26 meeting. And in this e-learning material, there is like a separate page called INAS, which has been which builds on like a Japanese word inasu. So, and this INAS will showcase, explain about what is NBS, what are the good practices, and also provide an e-learning video as well as the useful links. So let me go through this e-learning course. So here first, it explains about what is NBS. Like as a broad concept, it is NBS is a broad concept. And so to advance further understanding, it tried to answer like how this nature-based solution can address a variety of societal challenges, how NBS contribute to DRR livelihood, tradition, and development, and how NBS benefit both society and nature. And then we have several good practices on DRR, tradition, livelihood, and development. You can watch in this in the website, AP-PLAT website. And then we synthesize all this information also in an e-learning video, which explain about understanding NBS, and importantly, it incorporates how NBS could be incorporated into local policy and financing process, and also provides the same practical examples of NBS. And there are also links like a tools and guidebook, projects, funds, and available funds for promoting this nature-based solution. And there are resources, networks, and organization. And then you can access all this information through the link I have mentioned here from AP-PLAT Adaptation Literacy page, as well as the YouTube channel that previous presenter mentioned. Okay, thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Vinay-san, for showing us new capacity development resources in AP-PLAT, which will help building climate resilience in this region. Now let's move on to the next session, the panel discussion. The purpose of this panel discussion is to explore the opportunities of building partnership between AP-PLAT and PEMSEA, especially in the scope of capacity building development for the climate change adaptation. We will first hear from 4 panelists from PEMSEA on your feedback on the value and potential applications of AP-PLAT or additional insights based on your own experiences. The first panelist, Ms. Nancy Baramas, is a senior program manager of PEMSEA Resource Facility. She has extensive working experience in developing, implementing, and scaling up integrated coastal management, or ICM, in the East Asia region. She is involved in the ICM capacity building programs at the regional, national, and the site levels. Ms. Baramas provides advice and technical support to stakeholders in the application of ICM processes and tools. So, Ms. Baramas, over to you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone from the Philippines. Before I start, I would like to thank the Center for Climate Change Adaptation and of IGES and IGES for this opportunity to discuss synergies and potential collaboration between AP-PLAT and PEMSEA and the role of IGES in the process as PEMSEA's Regional Center of Excellence in Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Reduction. Okay, so PEMSEA, for the information of our participants, is a partnerships of 11 countries and 21 non-country partners. And the partnership has been operational for the past 28 years in the East Asian region. So the partnership is guided by this shared regional marine strategy called the Sustainable Development Strategy for the Seas of East Asia, or SDS-SEA, and its medium-term implementation plan. ICM, or Integrated Coastal Management, serves as the delivery mechanism for the SDS-SEA. And for the purposes of the AP-PLAT, the current implementation plan covering this period, 2018 to 2022, as shown here, includes actions on climate change and disaster risk reduction, and as one of the priority management programs and knowledge management and capacity building as part of its governance programs. Two networks, the PNLG, the PEMSEA Network of Local Governments with 54 members from 10 countries, and the PEMSEA Network of Learning Centers with 18 members from 9 countries, serve as our support network for bridging science and policy and for localizing our efforts at the local government and community level in support of this regional strategy. So Dr. Fang and Dr. Senanan will elaborate on the role of the two networks in a little while. Excuse me. So this slide attempts to show the synergies between the 3 pillars of AP-PLAT activities and PEMSEA's capacity development strategic framework, which comprises of 5 major components. So there are common elements that can be discerned from both frameworks, which include capacity development, knowledge management, and collaboration and networking. PEMSEA's capacity development framework is more general in the sense that it covers a wide range of topics on coastal and ocean governance and management priorities, while the AP-PLAT is very distinct since it is highly focused on climate change adaptation and resiliency. So if we are going to look at each of the components of the capacity development framework, we can actually see complementarities with the AP-PLAT. So the first component on sharing and exchanging knowledge among communities of practice includes the development and dissemination of knowledge products and knowledge exchange and management platforms. So PEMSEA has established the Seas of East Asia Knowledge Bank, or CKB, as a regional knowledge sharing, education, and capacity building platform that can be linked to AP-PLAT. The second component on building, strengthening intellectual capital and human resources, which entail the conduct of training courses covering various topics related to ICM and special areas of marine and coastal management, including CCA, can be linked to the e-learning courses, webinars, and tools of AP-PLAT. The third component on providing access to ocean-based data and information technology and innovative investment mechanisms can be further strengthened if linked to the AP-PLAT to facilitate better access to scientific data and tools, case studies, and so on, to help our partners, particularly the local governments, to fine-tune their planning process in relation to climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction. The fourth component on reinforcing strategic initiatives and collaborative partnerships were linkages with other regional and global platforms such as the Global Environment Facilities, International Waters, Learning Exchange and Resource Network have been made, can also be linked to AP-PLAT, as well as the ATSITU, the Arapura Timor Seas project that Ms. Tanya will be introducing later, where a similar knowledge portal will be replicated for the Arapura Timor Seas. So the fifth component on developing research and promoting policy dialogue can be pursued through the conduct of joint scientific and policy forums with CCCA and IGES to share the results of, for instance, targeted research activities and raise their importance in policy and adaptation planning. Okay, so PEMSEA is known for its almost 3 decades of experience in ICM implementation through support from the Global Environment Facility. So between 1993 to 2000, we have increased the coverage to 40%. And the role of IGES in this process is very important, particularly in supporting, providing technical assistance in implementing priority management programs at the national and local levels. So shown here is the Seas of East Asia Knowledge Bank, which has 9 distinct sections. Of particular interest to AP-PLAT would be the e-library and the capacity development information portal, which includes information on training courses, technical reports, and resource materials to support the training activities. Okay, shown here is the CKB's written interactive ICM map, which captures the region's progress in ICM implementation and contributions to global sustainable development targets. So all of these dots here contains profiles of all the ICM sites, including the PEMSEA network of local governments and PEMSEA network of learning centers. And finally, this slide summarizes some of the possible actions for incorporating AP-PLAT into PEMSEA's strategic action plan and roadmap to 2030, which we are currently developing. So we have identified possible collaboration in terms of capacity building, and we have identified a number of events here that tries to link science and policy, as well as training technical staff and so on. And we would also like to look at the possibility of exploring linkages with the CKB for specifically for CCI specific sections. And finally, we have a number of existing and upcoming projects which provides opportunities also for the application of AP-PLAT. Thank you very much. That would be all from me.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baramas, for your very nice introduction of the efforts of PEMSEA, as well as your insights on how to promote the synergies between PEMSEA and AP-PLAT. The next panelist, Dr. Wans Senanan, is a president of PEMSEA Network of Learning Centers, or PNLC. She is an associate professor of the Faculty of Sciences, Braha University in Thailand. Since 2020, she has been the chair of the ICM Learning Center at Braha University. Braha University and PNLC has been heavily involved in ICM implementation in Thailand under the guidance of PEMSEA. So Dr. Senanan, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunities to be on this panel. I would like to share some stories of how, what the success or what kind of involvement we had with the local level ICM implementation, and what AP-PLAT could strengthen that kind of work. So let's see. Okay, so as Nancy had mentioned, that the network of learning centers consists of research institutions and universities in 9 countries, and these learning centers have pretty heavy roles in providing technical support to the local ICM implementation. And to give an example of the services that we provided under the SDSC, the program has already finished in Thailand, but there are a lot of things that we could continue and build on what we had in the past. We provided technical support for the local level implementation. For example, we conducted trainings and on ICM related tools like vulnerability assessment, state of the coast reporting, coastal zone management, etc. And also we helped local governments to troubleshoot some issues like development of baseline information for ICM sites, development of management plans based on scientific methodologies, implementation of pilot project. In addition to the technical support, we also enjoy the network of knowledge sharing. So that's, I think, is the strength of PEMSEA in particular, because we have such a wide range of coverage in several countries, also have the region of excellence, regional center of excellence. So that's provide technical support and knowledge transfer. Okay, so when looking at AP-PLAT, as the speakers mentioned this morning, I could see a variety of activities that could lead to collaboration. If you look at the framework of vulnerability assessment, of course, we have the exposure assessment and the adaptive capacity. So the tools presented this morning were very impressive in helping to understand the exposure in a finer scale based on up-to-date or most up-to-date oceanographic models. And I could see it used as a forecast, early warning, or monitoring. And some examples that I have in mind, probably close to home, in Chonburi, Thailand, we interested in a couple of issues. One is the algal bloom, and another one, red tide, and another one is coastal erosion. So the SDSC activities were sort of lay a foundation for doing that. So in coming year, the Burapha University has a research activity on developing warning system for algal bloom in the area, because it's very frequent, very eutrophic coastal area, also heavily used area. So I think that would be one area, and coastal erosion is also of interest that we could explore. Another area is the capacity building. You mentioned the web-based tools, which are in English, of course. So to translate to local implementation, there needs to be some institution that would digest all this information. So we're willing to conduct local training or some activity of that sort. And then, of course, other capacity building, as Nancy had mentioned. Okay, so to end my short presentation, just give you some examples of some trainings that PEMSEA conducted that were valuable for local ICM implementation. So I could see the roles of IGES in providing such regional workshops. So with that, I'll end the presentation at this point, and hopefully we'll discuss some more later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Senanan, for sharing the PNLC's perspectives on the application of the AP-PLAT and your valuable thoughts on how to promote our synergies between these two frameworks. The next panelist, Dr. Fan Kunha, is a Deputy Secretary General of PEMSEA Network of Local Governments, PNLG Secretariat. He is a professor of Ocean and Coastal Management Science at the Coastal and Ocean Management Institute, or COMI, and College of the Environment and Ecology, CEE, Xiamen University. His research interest is focused on the interfaces of science and management in the coastal areas, including strategic environmental assessment, marine spatial planning, and marine ecological compensation. So Dr. Kunha, please take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. My honor to be invited to this workshop. I have a goal to highlight the local government's roles and needs of the climate change adaptation. And the reason of the importance of local governments has been recognized worldwide. And one of the reasons is that the local governments are at the front line of the climate change adaptation. And it has been identified that the lack of the capacity for the climate change adaptation at the local level had been highlighted as a key barrier. So the actions on the climate change requires the coherent and the consistent governance across the central and the local government, because we have many national commitment, but we have less heard from the voice of the local government. And this has been identified in the Paris climate agreement in both Article 7 and Article 11, mentioning the adaptation and the capacity building, and which the local government should be paid more attention to. And more broadly, if we look at the Agenda 2030, the climate action of SDG 13, the local governments and the communities has also been highlighted about their how to raising the capacity for effective climate change related planning and management. And in this region, has mentioned previously by Nancy and also Wansud about the network, and we have the PNLG for local government, and this is a very important driving force or mechanism for the implementation of ICM in this region. And now we have 51 regular members in from 10 countries, and according to the PNLG charter, it mentions the main objective of the network is to enhance the capacity of the local government and also to promote the application of the ICM approach to facilitate the linkage between the scientific, technology institutions and the local government to implement innovation, financing mechanism and partnership, and strengthen multiple stakeholder involvement and enhance the local coastal governance. And in all these framework of the ICM and the adaptation to climate change is one of the key aspects. And starting from the two demonstration side, we now have more family members of this network. So you can see every year we have the annual forum for the PNLG network. And I actually it's my first time to know the AP-PLAT, but from the presentation this morning, I'm very happy to see the AP-PLAT potential application in the future in the tools, scientific information, and also capacity development. But we have to realize that for when we go to the local government, the adaptive capacity of the local government is very highly context sensitive. That means one size fits all approach actually does not exist. So we need a very strong linkage between the scientific technology institution and the local governments. So that's why we are trying under PEMSEA's the leadership, we are trying to jointly work together of the two network of the PNLG and the PNLC, and this Thursday we will have a joint learning forum, this time focus on the ICM, and also the summary of this discussion of this morning, I think will also be presented by Ms. Najas. So if you're interested, you can also join us on Thursday afternoon. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kunha, for your kind thoughts on the potential application of a usage of AP-PLAT in the context of PNLG, and reminding us the importance of the local government or community perspectives. The final panelist, Ms. Cassandra Tanier, is a regional biodiversity specialist from the ATC2 Regional Project Management Unit. She has 10 years of experience of marine conservation projects from local to regional scales. Since last year, she has been working for the Alafra and Timor Sea Ecosystem Action Phase 2, or ATC2, a project covering Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Timor-Leste, and Australia. Ms. Tania, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Onasan, and good morning, everyone. Let me first share my screen. So first, thank you, IGES, for inviting me to this wonderful collab to share a little bit about ATC2 and some of our thoughts on AP-PLATs. And to start, I will talk a bit about ATC2. It's the second phase of the GF Finance UNDP-supported ATC program, where PEMSEA is one of its executing partners. It is a continuation of the first phase that was implemented between 2009 and 2014. And probably some of you have been asking a question, where is the ATS region or the Alafra and Timor Sea region? It's here, it's this dark blue area. It is part of the North Australian Shelf Marsh Marine Ecosystem, which is a tropical sea lying between the Pacific and Indian Oceans. And it's bordered by 4 countries. So in our project, we work together with colleagues from Indonesia, from Timor-Leste, from Papua New Guinea, and also from Australia. And ATC2 focuses to address some transboundary environmental issues, and those are first overexploitation of marine resources. Second is loss and degradation of habitats and biodiversity. Third is land and marine-based pollution, and finally about climate change, which is the focus of our today's collab. And starting from the mid-2020 until the beginning of 2021, through Dr. Jonathan's work, we had conducted a regional level climate change vulnerability assessment on the region to understand better how the region, its habitat, and priority species will be affected by climate change. And the study was conducted following IPCC framework, this one in the middle. And we started by having climate change projections for air and sea temperatures, rainfall, ocean pH, cyclones, salinity, under 2 scenarios, RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5 in 2070 as inputs for exposure. And some of the climate projection for sea surface temperature and also for pH can be seen here. And then we published and then we use published data and expert illustrations as inputs for sensitivity and also for adaptive capacity. And the results show that the level of vulnerability varied, especially as you can see on the example from coral reefs here, with some area are more vulnerable than the others. And similarly, for its subregion, you can also see that there are like different species that are more vulnerable in comparison to others. And then, having conducted the climate change vulnerability assessment and now looking at AP-PLAT, I would say that I see AP-PLAT as a one-stop shop for climate change adaptation. It's a relatively user-friendly and attractive platform, and I really like that you can actually translate the page into a language you prefer. Thank you to Google Translate. And the platform gives relatively easy access to climate data and tools such as ClimateCast, Climate Impact Viewer, and also Climate Kit. So overall, it's a very good resources especially for technical specialists. However, here I would like to offer some food for thought from my side. So first, I realized that in order to use AP-PLAT, the users definitely need a level of understanding about climate change and what impacts might occur from it. The users also need some skills or assistance to find and access the relevant data and interpret or select the adaptation needed. For example, in this case, it's actually myself because I'm not a climate scientist, and in order to navigate myself in the platform, I sometimes need to consult with my colleagues who have some climate science background. So therefore, my questions here is actually on how to make AP-PLAT can be more appealing as a platform, especially for non or not too much technical persons. So some suggestions I make here are first for AP-PLAT to provide more non-technical resources with not too many technical jargons, more online tutorial or training. It will be even better if it can be in person, and also even mentoring on how to use the data and tools. And lastly, better descriptions or metadata for available data sets and climate models used in the tools. And then, so my final 2 cents is on the possible use for local adaptation planning. How the platform, which provides quite universal tools with often too large spatial scale that possibly less ideal for local use, can be used for developing a local adaptation strategy. And reflecting back on what we're doing, we at the moment are still working on finalizing the guide for decision makers to link the results of regional climate change vulnerability assessment to local assessment, and even further to the development of local adaptation strategy. So you could see on your right-hand side how we undertake the processes in our pilot sites, and the processes will be documented in case study. That being said, we could definitely see the potentials of combining the use of AP-PLAT and data from local assessment to develop local adaptation strategy with support from technical staff. And that is all from me, and thank you very much. Back to you, Ms. Oma-san.
Thank you very much, Tanya-san, for your valuable food of thoughts, as well as a very introduction of very unique efforts and at C2. Now it's time for us to move into the discussion session. So as I said in the beginning, if you have any questions, please feel free to provide your questions in the Q&A chat box. For all the panelists, please make sure to turn the camera on during the discussion session. Now, I have prepared 2 questions to the panel to deepen the topic. The first question is, what is the most important and prominent adaptation gaps in the coastal and marine environment of the seas of East Asia, and how your initiative is trying to fill the gap? I would like to ask this question to Dr. Masatomi, Ms. Baramas, and Dr. Kunha, in that order, to answer this first question based on your experience. So please start your responses from Dr. Masatomi.
Thank you, Ms. Nosan. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. First of all, I'm not familiar with marine science and coastal science, so I cannot make a comment on coastal science and on the gap in regarding marine science and coastal science. But today here, I would like to make a general comment on the gap between science and the stakeholders. And actually, yeah, as everybody understand, actually there is a big gap between stakeholders and science, and I think the reason is they are living in different world. Okay, scientists and stakeholders are living in a different world, and they have different cultures, and they have also different objectives and different religions. And the most importantly, they are speaking different languages. Okay, so scientists cannot understand what the stakeholder is speaking, and the policymaker cannot understand what the scientist is speaking, like this. So I think first of all, we should recognize that this kind of gap, they are living in a different world, and they have different culture, and they are speaking different language. And with that, I think translation between them is quite important and also necessary to fill the gap between them. And AP-PLAT is actually such a translator. AP-PLAT is like a translator between them. And I think the main role of AP-PLAT is to deliver translated scientific information to public people and also stakeholders. And this is the main concept of AP-PLAT, as I mentioned in my presentation. But I think I recognize AP-PLAT is not complete. AP-PLAT is not adequate for the purpose at this stage, at this time. So yeah, today I'm really happy to have a very good suggestion to combine your activity with AP-PLAT. So from the panelists, so I think I would like to keep improving the function of AP-PLAT, and also I hope to bring the two different worlds into one world through AP-PLAT. So that's my hope, and that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masumi. So let's move on to the next panelist. Ms. Bermas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We recognize that the countries in the region have made significant steps in addressing the impacts of climate change with support from, of course, a lot of partners. However, gaps still remain, and I would like to provide my inputs from the perspective of integrated planning and management of the coastal and marine areas, particularly at the local level, where PEMSEA's flagship program in IGES implementation is being done. And I would say that one of the major adaptation gaps is still data availability and access to appropriate knowledge and tools. AP-PLAT's effort to put together the data and information on climate change and providing access to the database is actually very, very commendable. And we hope that we hope to see how this data or information is utilized at the local level, because oftentimes the usefulness of regional and national data and information is limited at the local level, because there are the vulnerabilities to climate change, in particular, to the impacts of climate change vary from one side to the other due to geographic differences in particular. And as Dr. Fang mentioned, the one size fits all does not apply to the local level, and so we do a lot of adaptive management of the local level. And also the degree of exposure to the impacts of climate change, like the sea level rise, extreme weather events, also vary from one side to the other. And if data is available actually at the local level, the site is either a beneficiary of a government project or has received assistance through donor-funded projects. So in the context of ICM scaling up, I think this gap can be addressed by helping strengthen capacities and transferring the knowledge to other local areas that have very limited data and information, as well as capacity and experiences in adaptation planning. And there are available vulnerability assessment tools that are specific for coastal ecosystems that also take into consideration the regions, particularly Southeast Asia, socioeconomic and ecological attributes, as well as available capacities. And UPMSI, UP Marine Science Institute, also one of PEMSEA's regional centers of excellence, have actually helped develop the CTI Coral Triangle Initiative VA tools. And this has been introduced to other countries outside of the Coral Triangle, the CTI. And I think we can build on these initial steps by also introducing AP-PLAT's e-learning tools to further help fine-tune adaptation planning at the local level, and of course taking into consideration also our available capacity and resources for PEMSEA and IGES and other partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So finally, Dr. Kunha, please provide your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For this question, I think just as mentioned before, the needs of the local government actually is different in different stage. I think they have different priorities, but all in all, I think that from my own experience, working experience with the local government, I think the capacity building is one of the most important issues, and they may in a different stage, different time, they may have the different demand of the capacity building, like technical or scientific support. Sometimes maybe human resources, or sometimes the financial support, and also the awareness improvement is also another key aspect. But I think the capacity building is one of the main demand or the main gap we need to fill in, and so that I have a suggestion is that I know the AP-PLAT is a very good web-based platform, but at the same time, I'm thinking if we can do have some pilot project how to make full use of this web-based platform, these kind of tools and also information for the local government. And just as Ms. Tanya has mentioned that how these information is now in the presentation just now, we see the map view. It seems more on the national level, how we can use this information in the local level, how to use that in the local planning and the management, especially to combine the adaptation to the climate change with the extreme weather disaster response and preparedness and response, which is more urgent for the local government. So I think maybe we can consider to select the pilot project, some potential site in this region to do the pilot study, how we can make full use of this web-based platform into the local planning and management. And I think the PNLG network, the secretary, and also Komi of Xiamen University, we can help to identify those potential sites in this region. So that's my comment. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much all for your very insightful comments on the gaps of the adaptation in this region. I can see that first of all that it was pointed out that we have a big gap in understanding the real needs of the stakeholders, including the local communities, and the needs are very different depending on the communities as well as the types of the stakeholders. So the first step should be that to understand the needs, and we should understand that the needs are very different. In other words, there's no one-fits-all solutions. Therefore, to fill the needs of these all the stakeholders, we need to sort of tailor-made data sets because that the data available are not at all as sufficient to fulfill all these needs. So this is the second gap. It's how to develop the useful data sets or information. But finally, not only the data itself, but how to communicate to this data set or information to the stakeholders, including government officials or the local communities, is another important gap. So I see that these are the key gaps identified in this discussion, and I think it's very useful insights. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to the second question. Second question is this. How can AP-PLAT and PEMSEA collaborate to accelerate capacity development activities in the Sea of East Asia? In particular, what is required in terms of knowledge, technology, and overall mechanisms for sustainable collaboration? And we have already here some good suggestions on this perspective, but I also want to hear from other experts or panelists. So I would like to ask this question to Dr. Sinanan and Ms. Tania and Dr. Shibakoti from different perspectives. So let me ask this question first to Dr. Sinanan, please.
Okay, well, thank you. I could see the use of it in at least a couple areas. One is to complement the existing vulnerability assessment. As Nancy had mentioned that there's existing vulnerability assessment tools. So I could see how this platform or knowledge base in the platform could enhance our understanding of the exposure and including the forecast. The needs for this work is maybe to sort of fine-tuning the model to the local level. And this lead to my second point is that, because there are a lot of interest already in the region, some research collaboration or expansion of the use of the platform could be valuable. And, I think a lot of countries do put in place some planning or at least the policy on climate change adaptation because it's such a huge issue. So I think with the funding, with the research, we could obtain funding from, local or national level, supplementing, what work at the international and regional level. So I think there's a lot of potential in that area. And as I mentioned, one of the things that I have in mind was, algal bloom, red tide. If we are able to predict when red tide would happen given certain climate conditions, then that would be very, very helpful for people on the ground. Because on the ground, people don't think about climate change adaptation per se, but they think about livelihoods and livelihoods in particular. So if it's depend on the climate, I think they now realize that knowing the information is important. And more important is how we would know it in advance. And the strategies could be adaptive, like a lot of panelists are saying. So I think the information is good, but it may need some fine tuning, and this capacity building could use the online platform a lot, because now that we could see what it can do. So I think without the funding, we could still do the online discussion and platform and doing some preliminary work together, building for national grant funding or something of that sort. Okay, so thank you. So those are my 2 cents of the thought.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sunana. Now, Tanya-san, please share your thoughts.
Okay, I think I totally agree with what Dr. Sananan said, and what also have been highlighted by Dr. Kinghua, that first, there's this gap between this more regional, international, national platform with the local adaptation or local implementation at local scale. So, and as highlighted by Dr. Sananan, I think even though we know that there's like many benefits from the online sources, and then you have like this great resources, but I think once it's doable, it's feasible. Is it possible if the AP-PLAT also organize an offline training or offline workshop for potential users in the future? And then, as I said earlier in my presentation, I think it's also really important to make sure that we combine the AP-PLAT platform and also data collection on the ground to make sure that this information at regional or national scale can be downscale to be used as basis for developing a local adaptation strategy. Because especially with us who work with people from sites, again, I totally agree with what Dr. Sananan said. People are aware that they've been affected by climate change, but they might not be aware of climate change itself. They notice that there's the changes in weather, and then the number of fishes have been declining and so on, but they probably didn't know about climate change. So I think it's really important to, as again highlighted by Dr. Masutomi, it's really important to translate this scientific language to a language that can be easily more understood by the communities. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the thoughts. Now, Binay-san, please share your thoughts.
Thank you, Mizuno-san and all. I think I'm really happy to hear so many exciting thoughts from all the panels and presentation. I think we got a lot of information, and it's really useful for AP-PLAT like platform, which is relatively young. And these are all very valuable. I think one thing we can, do, is 2 aspects we need to consider is a co-learning and co-development approach. That's, I think, very important, because it's not like only, AP-PLAT providing, but there are already a lot of experience gained from your real experiences. So we need to find a way to more tailor fit. That's the first thing. And second, I think it became, like quite obvious in the discussion that local level focus is very much needed. In particular, like translating, like how we can translate the assessment that are scientifically challenging for the local level. So we need a kind of repeated mentoring, and if possible, at the field level, so that we can understand what are the real issue and challenges, and what are the information gap that has to be complemented. So, and that aspect is second aspect is very important. And third is the future capacity building need to also consider about not just transferring knowledge and tool, but also linking up with the whole solution package. So it is not about just technology. Also, there are finance, how the local community can access the finance. And also there's also important about building community towards a more big serious about climate change. As you said, already said, I also fully agree with my experience that community really don't care about what is climate change or other things. They simply care about what are the immediate livelihood needs and what are the impacts they have seen but not been able to understood. So I think we need to bring that into their local perspective so that they can understand, okay, now the next step is that we have to be serious about adaptation planning. So I think that aspect, I think we can collaborate between AP-PLAT and PEMSEA and other colleague networks that the rich network, very big network that you have already established. So, and that aspect, I think I would like to stress. And so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your, again, a very insightful comments. I can see that, first of all, that it is important to secure the complementarity of the efforts of under AP-PLAT and the PEMSEA. So the first step might be to start have good understanding on exactly what both frameworks are doing right now, and to avoid the overlap or duplication and try to identify the real area where we need a collaboration. That must be the first step. And in order to translate that identify the area of collaboration to real actions, maybe co-learning or co-developing approach might be helpful. And everybody stress the importance of the sort of kind of fine-tuned or locally led or sort of fit into the real needs of the local communities. And capacity building is not an exception. So capacity building efforts also need to tailor or fine-tune to address the real needs of the local community. And it is my my own perspective, but it's important, and fully understand the importance of it. But then that we have so many communities, so many regions, so we cannot do everything. So we it is our kind of a homework. So how to strategically promote capacity building, knowing these diverse needs of the needs and the diverse communities circumstances. And finally, Bina-san also pointed out that maybe in the future we may want to explore the importance, explore the whole package approach of the capacity building. With that, may also we want to consider. So we have just 3 minutes left, but we have received many questions from the participants online. So what should I do? So you can see the questions provided in the chat box, right? I mean that all the panelists can see the questions, and obviously we cannot answer all of these questions, and but even if we cannot answer all of them, we'll definitely try to digest all of these questions, try to translate into the real actions on further promote the collaboration of between PEMSEA and AP-PLAT. But if you can give, I mean that the panelists can give some thoughts on some questions, please do so. Especially I noticed that there are many questions addressed to Dr. Mastomi, so maybe I can give the floor to Dr. Mastomi to answer some of the questions. So please.
Yes, thank you, Mizuno-san. I think the first question is, can you please tell us about recognition of AP-PLAT database? Recognition. I think, for example, Climecast has been just published 2 weeks ago. So I think at this time, I think a low recognition. But now we are trying to raise awareness of the recognition of AP-PLAT. We are trying. And the second, rather than the actual area, it's Actual, yeah, it is actual area inadequate, and no change. Oh, Thailand. I think that in the map which I showed didn't show the color change in Thailand, but it's it depends on the color scale. And then I think I didn't check that Thailand, the inundation of the area of Thailand will increase in the future, but depends on also SSP scenario or LSP scenario. But I think I'm not sure, but the inundation of Thailand will increase. But it depends on the color division, right, on the map. And especially demographics. We consider SSP scenario or LCP scenario. It includes demographics, population change. So we also provide the people in damaged by the inundation map. So in the map, I think we also consider that the population change among the economic and demographic change. Okay, but we do not consider the group of vulnerable groups of the area. We don't consider that. And CMIP6, who may access CMIP6 data? I access, but what is this question? I don't know. Everybody can access the CMIP6 data through the AP-PLAT. So everybody, no exception in this tool. And questions there. Questions here. So we it's still
okay, it's okay. Thank you, Master-san, for providing your answers to some of the questions. Unfortunately, the time is running out, so we have to conclude this session. And once again, as I said, that the comments or questions provided, I will digest all of them, try to digest all of them, and try to reflect them into our further consideration of our next steps. I think that today we had a very good discussion among the speakers and panelists, and got a very useful insights on especially how to promote the synergies or collaboration between AP-PLAT and PEMSEA. And I hope that this discussion will become a building block for the concrete steps towards the real actions of the collaboration between them. And finally, I want to say once again, thank you very much for the panelists, all the speakers, as well as the participants to this session, and including the participants who provided the comments to this session. And with that, I would like to conclude this panel discussion. So thank you very much for joining today. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.